Hello, and welcome to Just a Minotaur. As the Minotaur waltz fades away, I would like to welcome our viewers and listeners from all around the world, as we are incredibly lucky to have 4 of the multiverse's best storytellers and game players joining us to play a game where they attempt to speak on a subject that's been given to them without any hesitation, deviation, or repetition. Join me to welcome Chloe, Fiona, JR, and Taylor as we play Just a Minotaur. Our first player of the day is Chloe, and the subject, Chloe, is hobbits and halflings. 60 seconds to speak without any repetitions, deviations, or, in fact, hesitations. Go.
Hobbits and halflings are well known for their family-orientated ways and bedside manner. They enjoy food, a lot of banquets and hearty meals, birthday celebrations, weddings. They like to use those kind of things to bring the community together, to bring all of these wonderful...
And we have a interruption there at 37 seconds from Fiona. Fiona, what is your interruption by the rules of Just a Minotaur?
I'm so excited the buzzer worked. I believe there's a repetition of it to bring.
There was, in fact, a repetition to bring. I'm terribly sorry, Chloe, but that is the end of your speaking, and we will pass the baton, as it were, to Fiona, who gains a point and gets 37 more seconds on the clock to speak about hobbits and halflings. Fiona, go.
So hobbits and halflings, they have this amazing quirk called lucky in D&D. And when I say this sort of feat is basically about when you ever roll a 1, they automatically get to re-roll that dice to get a higher number when they're doing anything really, whether they're fighting, whether they're communicating with other people, whether they are... anyone? There we go.
Chloe!
I was so expecting to not be the one to press that buzzer, but here we are.
Wonderful.
I was really busy having an argument with myself about whether they are is applicable for repetition, and then I was like, wait, something bigger is happening.
Yeah, something else is happening.
So Chloe, with a completely correct challenge there, perhaps better late than never, one might say. It is 11 seconds with you. Subject returns to you of hobbits and halflings. Go.
I personally have never played a halfling, but I've known several people that have played them in games, and they are always the small angry ones, which fits really.
Yes, that is the end of it, and you have in fact been speaking as the buzzer went. So thank you very much, Chloe. You have successfully gained another point. As we go to our next round, the subject of the next round will be for Fiona, and the subject is now up on your screen. It is inside a dragon's cave. Fiona, on the subject of inside a dragon's cave, 60 seconds, no hesitations, deviations, or repetitions. Go.
So the last time I was inside the dragon's cave, it was quite the adventure indeed. It was myself and a couple of dwarves, and we made our way to something called the Misty Mountain. There was a dragon there that talked about taking away homes, saying that this place was theirs, and frankly, my kindred were sort of saying, well, that's not okay. This is our home. We're having a tete-a-tete with this. Damn it.
And Chloe, a challenge with 37 seconds left on the clock. What is your challenge?
Hesitation.
I think there was. Though I am curious about what these dwarves were doing, but nevertheless, that will have to wait, perhaps for a little bit later, as we go to you, Chloe, with Inside a Dragon's Cave in 37 seconds. Go.
I've always had this kind of dream to run a... oh, God.
And Fiona, what is the nature of your challenge by the rules of Just a Minotaur?
Well, whilst I would love to know more about this dream, I believe there was a hesitation as Chloe couldn't remember said dream.
There was.
I had so much to say. Words.
And here's a game of
Words
words
are hard.
indeed. So, as we return the subject back to Fiona and perhaps back to the Dwarves of the Misty Mountains with 32 seconds to go, Fiona, go.
So when I was there with my kindred, the hobbits were also talking about why they wanted to go on this strange journey. When they got there, they had this sort of big communication with said Smaug. I've buggered it up already.
Falling on her sword and catching the sword as it falls to the ground. Chloe, it's with you. What is the nature of your interruption?
More hesitation.
Indeed it was. Now, 18 seconds. Line your words up and charge.
The game that I wish to run begins inside a dragon's cave, where the dragon is to be slain by said adventurers, having been given this quest from a villager. The village has been being What? Damn it!
With 3 seconds on the clock, Fiona, what is your challenge?
There was hesitation there as well. There's back and forth of hesitations.
There was hesitations, and
I was
there were
this close.
there was a repetition as well, I think, in there of villager, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
But nevertheless, it is with you as you gain a point for a valid interruption. 3 seconds to go, starting now.
Some things you might find inside a dragon's cave. But the round is over.
There was not an interruption as you stumbled but did not fall
Just
over the
tripping
line. Congratulations, Fiona. You gain a point as you were speaking as the buzzer went. That is the end of the second round, and
Why is this game so hard?
rocking over to you, JR, as you will discover the difficulty of this game in just a second. The subject that comes to you, JR, is up on your screen now, and it is the Eye of the Beholder. 60 seconds to speak with no hesitations, no repetitions, or no deviations, and it is your first round of just a minute. So welcome. Now, 60 seconds, and you will be starting now.
The Eye of the Beholder is a very confusing subject. It's mainly because we say it's the eye of the beholder, but the beholder has multiple eyes. There is a big one, about yay big, and there are small ones.
Fiona, with a challenge at 46 seconds. One might say an uncharitable challenge, given that this is the first time that JR has played this game, but this is not a game of charity. This is a cold-blooded death match. What is the nature of your challenge, Fiona?
Yes. Unfortunately, there was a repetition of big.
There
one.
was, in fact, a repetition of big. The subject of the Eye of the Beholder goes to you, Fiona, with 46 seconds remaining. I hesitated, you see. With 46 seconds remaining on the clock, starting now.
So beholders, I always wonder how they wear hats. Do they wear one big hat, or do they wear little tiny ones all over their different sort of eye stalks? They're also quite famous for having different powers, such as freeze ray, paralyzation beam, the other ones. There's so many of them, and it's quite fun as a DM when you're sort of rolling in combat, because you get the players to decide which one that happens, and then they're like, oh no, we're being attacked by the Eye Tyrant again. So I quite like them as a sort of concept as a monster, but they're also very, very beautiful. I think if I was going to flavour them for my encounters, I would give them, say, eye makeup, maybe a little bit of mascara, probably a bit of rouge or contouring, just to make them look that better as a sort of.
Wonderful,
Oh my goodness!
Wonderful.
Wow!
With
That was impressive.
an incredibly fortunate 46 seconds of an amazing oratory. Fiona, you're speaking as the buzzer goes, which gives you a additional bonus point as we come to Taylor.
Oh boy.
Hold on to your hats, folks.
I'm ready.
The subject of your 60 seconds without hesitation, repetition, or deviation, Taylor, is elf propaganda.
Oh
60
boy.
seconds, starting now.
I get elf propaganda on my computer recommended to me from Pinterest. They think this is what I'm interested in, and they are not incorrect. Yesterday's propaganda was, are you looking for Thranduil and grilled shrimp? And I was. Of course, I clicked it. I made a board. It is a phenomenal library of propagandic information, including, and not to be limited to, their entire family.
Oh, Chloe, first and foremost, I just wanted to check in. Taylor, we are talking propaganda as opposed to another word beginning with P that's also wrong and might get sent to you in your email.
That's a different board.
Good, just checking in. Chloe, what is the nature of your interruption by the rules of
Hesitation.
Hesitation.
I realized I couldn't keep saying Thranduil, which is very different from my everyday life.
Yes.
So 29 seconds left on the clock on the subject of elf propaganda. Ready? Starting now.
I feel there's a lot of propaganda against elves. I quite enjoy them myself. Never played one, but I have been with players that have. And they're really engaging in roleplay. They meditate for only 4 hours per a long rest, so that makes them quite useful for night watches and stuff. They're also quite good for making fun of when your longer-lived characters against your shorter-lived characters.
Fiona, sniping in 2 seconds.
I don't even know where that sentence was going. Like, you saved me, really.
Your characterful interruption, Fiona?
I believe it was a repetition of character.
Indeed.
But also, I would like to point out that Chloe has not played any halflings or elves. So what experience does she have on this thing? I feel this is propaganda against elves in general. So,
I feel honestly, I deserve it. Now, we remain with 2 seconds on the subject of elf propaganda. Starting now.
Elves are great. That's my go-to.
It's wonderful. You were speaking as the buzzer went, Fiona, and you're streaking into the lead on 8 points. As we end the first round of subjects, the score is Chloe with 5, Fiona with 8, and JR and Taylor are biding their time for a strong second half.
It's
Me and
the
JR
underdog
are the
story.
dream team.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Admit it.
Wonderful. The next subject begins with Chloe, and it is my favourite wizard familiars. 60 seconds to talk about my favourite wizard familiars without any hesitations, deviations, or repetitions, starting now.
My favorite wizard familiar is a very specific one from a game I play in, where there is a parrot by the name of Green. This bird is not that color at all. It is, in fact, blue. It was a spirit that our wizard captured inside of the library.
Fiona with the challenge with 40 seconds left on the clock. What is the nature of your challenge?
I think Chloe hasn't played a wizard either, and I feel this is a continuing theme.
I have just got one with a familiar.
Oh, okay. I
You're
retract
unfamiliar,
my.
I might say.
I retract it then. Council rests, Your Honour.
I very much enjoyed your interruption, as I'm sure everybody at home did as well, Fiona, but I'm afraid that is not a valid interruption by the rules of Just a Minotaur. However, I will give you the benefit of the doubt in the future, but Chloe, subject remains with you of my favourite wizard familiars with 40 seconds left on the clock, starting now.
So this familiar was captured by our party wizard inside of the library in the university where they studied. It was causing a lot of trouble. It was ripping up books, getting in the way of the patrons. And she decided to capture this spirit, make it into her familiar. And now we have this bird.
JR with a challenge.
No, I just
What?
wanted to test the buzzer. No, I'm kidding. No, I believe spirits was mentioned in the earlier run.
Indeed, a spirit was in fact correctly mentioned. That is a very valid interruption. You're off the ground, JR, and off to a flying, well, not start, but middle part of the game. Now,
watch out for JR.
Indeed. So, with 21 seconds remaining on the clock, with no hesitations, deviations, or repetitions, JR, starting now.
My favorite wizard familiars are a lot of different familiars. There are octopuses, which some might argue should be called octopi or octopodes, but actually they're not. This is because in the Greek and in the Latin, that would be right.
That is wonderful and amusing, and I in fact wondered if you were going to go octopus, octopode, octopies. Wonderful, you get an extra point speaking while the buzzer went.
That's living on the edge.
It
every
is.
Time. JR lives only on the edge.
Where else is there to live, truly?
For us, a couple other places, but...
But do they have octopodes? Now, on that note, that's wonderful. I believe the next round will be for Fiona, and the subject is random encounters. Oh, pardon me, I spelled that wrong. Okay. So it is 60 seconds on the subject of random encounters, Fiona, with no hesitations, deviations, repetitions, starting now.
The random encounters is a tool which DMs can use during their games when a party is going from A to B, and between that sort of journey, they're sort of going, oh, nothing else is along this road. Well, let me tell you, friends.
An interruption there from Chloe with 49 seconds. What's your interruption?
There was the repetition of sort of.
Oh, boo.
That is sort of a valid challenge, I feel, Chloe. So wonderful, as you gain a point for that and get 49 seconds to speak on the subject of random encounters, starting now.
I have quite mixed feelings about random encounters because I think they're really, really good to, again.
Fiona with a
Why?
really
I didn't even
timely challenge.
When you buzzed it, I was like, oh,
really.
Indeed.
I also would like to say, I don't know if Chloe has experience with random encounters either.
I have random for people not done so well.
Yeah.
And
this is a roast. This is a roast.
My
now.
DM has used them to great effect at the moment, but just I personally find them difficult to deal with.
Sure.
I think many people do, but you have 43 seconds to talk about your feelings on random encounters, Fiona, starting now.
So my friend Chloe has her DM run random encounters very successfully, but not for Chloe, because I think maybe...
Oh, JR has a challenge. What's your challenge, JR, by the rules of just a minute?
Repetition of Chloe?
Yes, that is exactly a valid
notice.
challenge. It is repetition of Chloe with 36 seconds to go, JR. The subject is with you of random encounters, starting now.
I like rolling random encounters. When I throw my dice and they land on a 1, that probably means there are no random encounters. When I...
Oh, it was going so well, and then it wasn't. Fiona, a non-random interruption. What is the nature of your...
I believe it was a dramatic pause, which
There
unfortunately
was-
is a hesitation in this.
Wonderful as a dungeon master, as a tool in your vocabulary, JR, a wonderful dramatic pause, but I'm afraid by the rules of just a Minotaur, it is a valid interruption by Fiona, which leaves her 23 seconds on the clock, starting now.
Random encounters, you can find them in the DM's guide, which is this big book that nobody actually reads. I ask people, as DMs, what do you read? And they say, we don't read.
With 14 seconds on the clock, JR fighting back against the tyranny and oppression of Fiona's dominance. What is the nature of your interruption?
I read the DM's guide.
What?
And
No!
repetition of the word DM.
It is a repetition of DM. You are absolutely right. As you gain another point, gets you to 4 points, as you have 14 seconds remaining on the subject of random encounters, starting now.
Random encounters are indeed listed in the DM's guide, but there's also Bad.
As this tennis game continues between Fiona and JR in this round. Fiona, what is the nature of your challenge?
Another amazing dramatic pause from our friend JR over there. Hesitation,
Indeed
unfortunately.
so. A thoroughly dramatic pause from JR gives you one more point, Fiona, as you have 6 and only 6 seconds remaining on this subject, starting now.
Random encounter tables can be found in Tasha's Guide to Everything, Xanaphar's Guide to Most Things.
Chloe, with literally 0 seconds on the clock, you just got in. Our system is saying that it's valid. So tell me, what is the nature of your last-minute interruption?
The repetition of the word guide.
Yeah.
There was the repetition of the word guide. That was a last-second interruption. Congratulations. You have half a second, essentially, on random encounters starting now.
I do enjoy.
So you were speaking as the buzzer didn't go, and so we have a fantastic last-minute challenge as snatching victory from the jaws of Fiona's victory. I don't know it works that way. Now, on that note, we then come to JR on the subject of Bardic inspiration. 60 seconds to speak with no hesitation, repetition, or deviations, following the rules of Just a Minotaur, starting now.
Bardic inspiration is the most interesting thing to do in Dungeons and Dragons. Players normally have a hard time thinking of what to say in their bardic inspiration. Some sing, some do poems, some do limericks.
Oh, some do challenge.
Yep.
Fiona, what is the nature of your challenge?
Yes, unfortunately, repetition of some do.
Indeed, some do indeed. So that's one more point for you, Fiona. Terribly sorry, JR, but Fiona has 46 seconds that you get to listen carefully and interrupt her when she repeats, deviates, or hesitates, starting now.
My friend Chloe has never used Bardic inspiration because she's the sort of person that sort of is an actress who sort of talks bits and pieces, but also...
Taylor, 30 seconds, 8 seconds left on the clock.
This whole time I've been trying to use the keyboard to buzz, and I've realized that I have actually been pressing the spacebar on my name field and just adding spaces. So now I am mouse only.
Yes.
Anyway, sort of, again. Multiple sort of.
Multiple sort ofs.
Getting you off the mark with style and panache, Taylor. Consider that to be an incredibly valid challenge and an incredibly funny sort of circumstance that's brought you here. So now that you're in the game with a late surge, it is 38 seconds on the subject of Bardic inspiration to you, Taylor, starting now.
Bardic inspiration is my favorite thing to do because I have so much of it to give around. Everybody needs it. We all have moments of failure where we could use a little bit of help. And what is better for that than Bardic inspiration? When you need to impress or upset, maybe even hurt. And that's when I pull it out. The Bardic inspiration all over the place on you and maybe them or on your...
JR has a challenge and I don't care what it is. I'm just glad you have a challenge. What is the nature of your
I'm
challenge?
actually not even sure is repeating you allowed?
You is one of those words that we generally give the benefit of the doubt to unless it's like you. So was it, if it was just a couple of repetitions, it's probably okay. Did you by any chance have any other challenge? If not, then by the rules of Just a Minute, that is an unfortunately invalid challenge. Taylor, you gain a point, and you
Just wanted to give Taylor a point.
Yes.
I think
Thank you,
Taylor's
JR.
taking
So
points.
generous, JR.
It sounds like Taylor is
JR.
taking points and prisoners. On that note, with 8 seconds remaining on the clock, Taylor, the subject of Bardic inspiration returns to you.
You got... I didn't know...
In fairness, I didn't say starting now, and so that key wasn't there. So we'll do that again with 5 seconds remaining on the clock, Taylor, because that was entirely my fault. You get a bonus out of it. Thank you very much, Chloe. Appreciate your forbearance.
Me and Chloe are just like,
Yes,
Give us the points.
You get 5 seconds.
Those of us with nothing. Spare a
Starting
moment.
now.
You got my bardic inspiration, and you didn't want it, so you returned it to the shop.
So wonderful, wonderful. So Taylor, you're speaking as the subject was. Sorry, pardon me. You were speaking as the buzzer went. So you gain a point for that. And I'm going to give a point to everybody else for being such a good sport because I bollocks that up. So thank you all very much. As we
Oh,
come,
did you subtract one from me?
good heavens, I did. Pardon me. Math is hard. There we go. Have an extra one. Now, on that note, we have one round left, which is in fact Taylor's round. So, the subject that has come up for Taylor is coming up on the screens now. A paladin's favorite weapon.
Oh, no.
With 60 seconds to speak about a paladin's favorite weapon. I just know where this is going to go.
I'm so sorry. I'm trying to reset before I do this whole thing.
We're going to get switched off the internet.
Apologies.
Yes. Oh, well. In for a penny, in for a paladin. So, with 60 seconds to speak about a paladin's favorite weapon with no hesitation, deviation, or repetition, it is Taylor starting now.
I know what you're thinking, but a paladin's favorite weapon is their god. Every day they wake up to go to the chapel to pray upon all of the sins that they've committed before they became paladins with favorite weapons. And let me tell you, there are so many. Before I became a paladin with a favorite weapon, I committed 1,000,000 sins. And I stepped into that.
37 seconds as a head of steam was being built up. What is the nature of your challenge by the rules of just a minute?
Repetition of sins and committed.
Indeed, It sounded like both in the story and out there was a repetition of sins. With a entirely valid challenge, you have 37 seconds on the subject of a paladin's favorite weapon, starting now.
A paladin's favorite weapon should be the spell of the spiritual kind. Because it's a great spell that you don't need concentration for. Damn it.
JR with 28 seconds. What's
Repetition of spell.
It is, in fact, a repetition of spell. That is well noticed.
You can probably see behind my eyes when I realised, oh wait, I can't say the name of the spell.
But you could. It was interesting because you paused on the word weapon, which you are allowed to say because it's in the subject. Because you're allowed to repeat any of the words in the subject in any order.
It feels risky though when you do it. When you cut the phrase apart, you're like, I'm not allowed, but I'm doing it. No one's gonna know.
It's certainly a little frizz on, isn't it? Now, on that note, with 28 seconds remaining on a paladin's favorite weapon, JR.
You can say it, JR. It's okay.
Starting.
The truth, like a paladin.
Some argue that the paladin's favorite weapon is their god, but actually, it is their faith. Because their god...
That was a smite. That was a smite.
Metaphysical interruption, I feel, from Fiona. What is the nature of your challenge? By the rules of
their god. Is that it?
No, their god is something you said.
I've forgotten what it is, so I will pass it back. I've forgotten what it was.
An invalid
I knew something happened,
challenge.
but I wasn't paying attention, clearly.
I know what it was if I can steal it.
I don't think you can, I'm afraid.
I'm going to give that point back to JR then, and then he can continue.
Indeed. And
a miracle.
It does. It is the faith that has trumped all forms of science. So, JR, with 19 seconds remaining on the clock, the subject of a paladin's favorite weapon starts now.
Other players also say that the paladin's favorite weapon is its slots. Not the spell kind, but the smite kind. That's technically not a weapon.
With 9 seconds left on the clock, Chloe, what is the nature of your challenge?
Repetition of the word kind.
Oh, it was indeed very well noticed. It was indeed a repetition.
And you guys thought
kind.
I was going to go there.
Yes, we did. And so, with 9 seconds remaining on the clock and 1 point between you and Fiona, Chloe, you have 9 seconds on a paladin's favorite weapon, starting now.
A paladin's favorite weapon is purely down to individual choice. Some paladins enjoy a warhammer, but great swords are also...
Speaking as the buzzer goes off, Chloe, you gain an extra point for successfully finishing that round. And as we come to the end of this wonderful game of Just a Minotaur, I wanted to firstly thank our contestants, Chloe, Fiona, JR, and Taylor, and read out the scores. And in, let's call it, positivity for the future, possibilities are endless place. With 3 points is Taylor.
I should get an extra point for not saying what I wanted to say on that last
You know what? Just by the rules of Just a Minotaur, self-censorship gets you an extra point.
Yeah.
JR, well done on your first game, Just a Minotaur. You have started off slowly, but you've raced back into it, and we look forward to seeing you back here with 7 points. And joint first in our game of Just a Minotaur is the remarkable wordsmiths Chloe and Fiona, battling for the majority of this game, but nevertheless having to split the title between them. So massive thanks to Chloe, Fiona, JR, and Taylor, who have been incredible players of this game. Thank you to everybody that is watching and listening from around the world. And you can find us on T4C Studios, which is where we're appearing in this wonderful game that hopefully you will join us again. Just a Minotaur!